This video is supported by patrons like you. If you'd like to become a patron supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJRTheOriginal. Thanks. Many years ago, I had a dream. I was sitting in a darkened theater, and then the curtains came up and the lights came on, and I began to watch an animated sequel to the Beatles' Yellow Submarine movie. The movie was entitled Return to Pepperland, and it took place in the Pepperland of the original film. The Beatles themselves were not actually in the film, but the Sgt. Pepper Band from the original film were, and they were the main characters of this particular film. In the same way that Yellow Submarine had a very unique visual style for its time, so did Return to Pepperland. The movie shared a similar psychedelic palette as Yellow Submarine, but it did not have the hard animated line style that Yellow Submarine had. Instead, the film had a much softer, what I could best describe as pastel, painterly look to it. It's been decades since I had this dream, but I've never forgotten it. However, my memories of what I saw in that dream have faded over the years. I only wish that I had had the artistic ability to draw or paint a picture of what I saw in that dream. Hey everybody, this is TJR. Back in March, I did a video discussing the latest updates on the upcoming Peter Jackson-directed Beatles documentary entitled Get Back. And at that time, for me, what I thought was the single most interesting bit of news was the fact that the Walt Disney Company would now be distributing the movie. Now, when I mentioned this, I noticed a number of people in the comments section misunderstood this bit of news to mean that Disney was buying Apple or was buying the Beatles or both, neither of which were true. All this meant was that Disney and Apple had a partnership deal going where Disney would provide distribution for the film. And to me, what was really great about this was that unlike, say, the re-release of Yellow Submarine from a year or so back, which hardly anybody got to see, with Disney's clout behind it, more than likely this film would be in a lot more theaters than we're normally used to seeing for this sort of thing. There was a lot more potential for it to be seen by fans in the theaters, and more than likely, this movie would also end up being a Disney Plus streaming exclusive. Now, that got me thinking back then that if this partnership worked out well for both sides, that it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Apple, the Beatles, to do an exclusive licensing deal with Disney Plus to have the entire Beatles filmography on the Disney Plus streaming service. This would be a big exclusive for Disney, and Disney likes associating themselves with well-known brands like Star Wars and Marvel. And the Beatles are definitely a brand that is as well known as those that I've just mentioned. Of course, this is all just speculation on my part, but it was a funny thing. Today, I was thinking about that film and thinking, wow, with the pandemic, will we get to see it in September? Who knows? No one knows how things are going to go. And then a thought occurred to me. And I remembered Fantasia 2000, the movie. Now, of course, Fantasia 2000 is the sequel to the original 1940 Fantasia. By the way, does anyone out there need me to explain Fantasia to you? Anybody? You? Okay, real quick. I'm sorry, everybody. Just bear with me while I help this one individual here. Fantasia 1940 was an experimental film that featured animated interpretations of some of the world's greatest classical music. Originally, Walt Disney had envisioned this project as a continuous work in progress that would re-release every couple of years or so with new animated segments replacing earlier animated segments. The film is now considered to be a cinematic classic, but in 1940, its poor box office returns nixed the idea of any possibility of it becoming an ongoing piece of experimental cinema. Now, fast forward to 1999, and Roy Disney successfully managed to revive the Fantasia project with Fantasia 2000. Once again, the film featured animated interpretations of great classical music, the only exception being George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. Now, that movie did reasonably well enough that a Fantasia in 2006 was planned, but then it never ended up happening for reasons that I can't discern at this time. But it was during all of this build up to the release of Fantasia 2000 and subsequently after that I remember reading an online article, and I can't remember who it was, and I did try to find it online, but it's somewhere in internet limbo. Who knows how many search engines I'd have to go through just to find it. But trust me, this was a real article. And in this article, the author, after discussing the fact that now a jazz piece was included in the new Fantasia, and I'm referring to the George Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue, that could more modern, non-classical music be included in upcoming installments? And then the author went on to ask, could rock music, could anything from the classic rock era be included in a future Fantasia installment? And then the author said, of course, the obvious choice would be the Beatles. And I'll be honest, to me, if there was one Beatles song that could probably work really well in a Fantasia sequel, it would either be A Day in the Life or Penny Lane. But if I could choose, I'd say A Day in the Life. And I'll tell you, every time I listen to that song, I see a movie in my mind. I see an incredibly wild, crazy movie that I think could only be done in animation. And as the memory of reading this article kind of passed through my head this evening, I thought to myself, you know, if that partnership that I just finished talking about between Apple and Disney to distribute Get Back, if that partnership did go well, and if, say, they decided to keep doing more projects together, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. If, say, a new Fantasia movie was made, that maybe it might include a Beatles song. In fact, I think that a real viable animated film that would probably be very successful would simply be a Beatles Fantasia movie. Think about it. Maybe 90 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. All Beatles songs, all interpreted through animation. And I can hear a few people saying, oh, they'd probably ruin it. I don't think so. You look at how well they've interpreted the classical music they've done, and also look at the short experimental film Destino, which was originally released as a bonus feature on the Fantasia 2000 Blu-ray, but is on YouTube and is available for streaming on Disney+. It just recently got added. But you watch this and you can see just how mind-blowing they could potentially be working with the music of the Beatles. I could see Disney animators doing some pretty mind-blowing stuff with that. I really do. Now, of course, this is just my personal fan wish fulfillment that I'm discussing right now. But given that this business deal is now in place, it has a small chance of actually happening. Anyways, what are your thoughts? If the music of the Beatles was to ever be used in this way in, say, a Fantasia sequel or an all-Beatles Fantasia movie, what songs do you think should be used? It's probably never going to happen, but hey, it's fun to think about, fun to talk about. And we need to have fun right now on the internet, especially now. Anyways, everybody, that's just something that occurred to me today that I just felt I had to share. Let me know what you think. Everybody take care, stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands. All right. See y'all later. Bye-bye.